It was a tale of two halves in this one where the Bulls looked pretty lousy in the first half to completely turning things around in the second. Can't quite figure out if that's a good thing or not because the Stars aren't playing most of the second half in these preseason games, and the second unit is really the group that's really been showing up well and bringing the Bulls back into it. But either way, this was actually a fun and exciting game to watch. I don't know about you guys, but I really feel like preseason games have gotten way more competitive in recent years than what it used to be. I always found preseason basketball to be pretty boring. I would watch it more passively, if at all, but now I find myself actively engaged in cheering on my squad like it's a regular season game, and you can even feel that sense of energy in the crowd as well. But anyway, the Bulls take the W in this one over the Raptors, a game that really looked like the Raptors were going to walk away with it with how the Bulls were playing and turning the ball over at an insane rate. But let's talk about this one, as there were some big takeaways in my opinion. Now, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, as I'll be covering the Bulls all season long. So a few things first of all, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again because I cannot emphasize it enough how much I love Javonte Green. Again, I know it's just the preseason, but this dude is straight up balling. Get this, Javonte Green, in the 3 preseason games so far this season, has averaged near 17 points per game on 17 for 22 shooting in those 3 games. Keep in mind, this is unlimited minutes because everyone in the preseason plays unlimited minutes. That is insane efficiency, and it's not like this is a star player we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy who was on a minimum contract and just a little over a year ago wasn't even able to crack the rotation on an NBA roster. The guy has been working harder than anyone could possibly imagine, not even just to earn a spot in the rotation like he did last season, but even to be the Bulls starter at power forward. I know he didn't start tonight and the Bulls went with Derrick Jones Jr. And then again, you have people on Twitter all over the place saying, well, what does this mean? Has Javonte now been demoted? Does this now for sure mean that Pat isn't going to start at the 4 since it's now been 2 games where he hasn't started? Guys, no. Billy Donovan is trying out different groups to see what fits best before going into the regular season. That's what the preseason is for. Derrick Jones Jr. looked decent in his start, by the way, especially after not really getting a ton of playing time in the last 2 games. But personally, if you ask me, I don't see how you start anyone over Javonte Green. The guy has really earned that starting spot with his play, and you can't really say the same thing about Patrick Williams, who I'll get to. The problem is, Javonte would be a better fit in the starting unit. I don't think anyone would really deny that because he brings a certain level of energy, hustle, defense, and athleticism that you really need to start off games strong going in the regular season. But on the other hand, he's small to start a power forward. Guy is only 6'4", and that's not ideal when going up against the likes of Giannis and Kevin Durant. While Patrick Williams, on the other hand, fits from a size and physicality perspective at power forward, but quite frankly just hasn't looked as good as Javonte Green has thus far. Doesn't mean that Patrick can't get there eventually. He's much younger, with still a lot of room for development, but he just hasn't shown that level of confidence, aggression, and command of the game that you need from a starting power forward. Again, this doesn't mean that I'm out on Patrick. I do still think Pat is going to be a great player with proper development and training, and honestly, maybe coming off the bench is the best move for him to kind of get some of that pressure off of his shoulders and allow him to go up against other teams' second units while he establishes himself more in the league rather than going up against some of the best players in the league like he has been so far in his NBA career. That being said though, yeah, not a great game for Pat tonight coming off the bench. I mean, yes, he was more aggressive. I did like seeing him make some hard drives to the basket. Didn't finish or he got fouled, but you didn't see that from Pat before, and you need him to develop that level of confidence to go to the basket with authority and not allow anyone to stop him in his path. But yeah, 1 for 8 shooting tonight, 6 points, 3 rebounds, and nothing else. No assists, no steals, no blocks. I mean, that's the other thing I'll say about Patrick, even on the defensive end, is he hasn't looked as good as what we saw in his rookie year. He hasn't been as quick. His lateral footwork seems to have weakened, or he's just not hustling when switching from side to side. I don't know. I'm trying not to overreact about it because it is just the preseason. I'll give it a few weeks into the regular season before I start worrying about Pat. But yeah, not good. Not good. What we've seen thus far, especially when the Bulls have really kind of been relying on him to take that next step this season to enable the Bulls to be in the thick of the Eastern Conference. But anyway, other things to call out from this game. Well, it might just be me, but I'm very encouraged by what I've seen from Nikola Vucevic so far in the preseason. This is now the 3rd straight game where we've seen an aggressive, confident Vucevic who has been much more active on offense and actually hitting his shots. Vucevic tonight was 6 for 10 from the floor, 13 points, 9 rebounds. Like, I'll say it again, if Vucevic can even be 90% of what he was when we traded for him back when he was with the Magic, that is huge for the Bulls, and actually having a center who can give close to 20 points per game and 12 rebounds per game. and be enough of a threat from outside that it can free up space for the Bulls' leading scorers in Lavine and DeRozan. Vucevic having a down year last year was a big part of the Bulls' struggles in the second half of the season. People always want to jump to the injuries to Lonzo and Caruso, which were also a huge blow, but Vucevic struggling and having a subpar year was a big factor for their fall off at the end of the season. So again, it's early, the season hasn't even started yet, but you have to be excited if you're seeing this from Vucevic when so many people were writing him off after his performance last season. There still isn't something right about Zach. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he really wasn't able to get as much work in this offseason because of his surgery. He himself said that he hadn't played any 5-on-5 ball until training camp, so I'm sure he's still getting his conditioning under him, getting back into the flow of the game, and he actually looked good in the little time that he played in the second half, hitting a couple threes, was taking care of the ball better, but that first half, he was like 1 for 6, had 5 turnovers. I was thinking the Bulls might just sit him in the second half, not for poor performance purposes, but more so just saying, hey, it's the preseason and things aren't going your way tonight. Obviously, you would never sit Zach down for an entire half in a regular season, but they played him anyway, and he looked better in the second half. And then for DeMar DeRozan, I feel like I always just say the same thing about him at this point. It's DeMar DeRozan. He's just doing his thing. He's going to ball out. Dude had a near triple-double in this one, only playing 27 minutes, 21 points on 7 for 12 shooting. He got to the line as he always does, was perfect from the line, 8 rebounds and 8 assists to go along with his 21 points, and he also had 3 steals as well. He had active hands tonight. It was great to see. I'm sure he always just wants to put on a show being back in the 6 as well. Also, hey, how about Ayo Dosunmu tonight? 29 minutes was a plus 27, which by the way, Javonte Green also finished as a plus 27. He looked very agile, fluid, and confident running the point. 14 points, shot 50%, 7 rebounds and 5 assists, was active around the perimeter on defense, preventing the Raptors to shoot the 3-ball well. Raptors were 8 for 37 tonight from 3, yikes. But good to see Ayo have another great game. I think it's becoming more and more clear now that the Bulls are gearing him up to be the starting point guard, which is what I was hoping for, even though I thought Billy was going to go with Goran, but who knows, it's not the regular season yet, we'll have to wait and see. And oh my god, Andre Drummond, are you kidding me? 3 for 3 from behind the arc. For context, Andre Drummond has made a total of 15 3-pointers in his entire NBA career of 718 games. 15 threes over 718 games, and shooting 13% from 3 for his career. He made 3 alone tonight in one game and did so on 100% efficiency. Listen, if Andre Drummond can actually develop that outside shot to go along with his strong rebounding and everything else that he does, that is going to be a massive pickup for the Bulls as an offseason transaction, because when the Bulls signed him, it's not like they were signing this guy with the intention of, well, he'll also be able to hit some threes occasionally on a decent clip. No, they signed him as a backup 5 who can give them some size and rebounding. If defenses have to start respecting Drummond along the perimeter and following him out there, and that being in the second unit, that opens up a great opportunity for the Bulls on offense off of the bench. I'm not going to get my hopes up though, because it is just one game and it's the preseason game, but we can all dream, right? Aside from that, Caruso looked solid in this one on both ends. Dalen Terry looked good as well, keeping up that energy, continuing to build that confidence playing in NBA games. Coby White, we've seen this before. Every time he has a good game, it's followed up by a not so great one. And the guy played 30 minutes tonight, but couldn't get his rhythm going. Shot 3 for 10, 1 for 5 from 3, 4 turnovers. He did have 6 assists though, so it was good to see him facilitating out there, and that actually had a good impact on the Bulls in the second half to come back and actually win this game. The other thing I'll say is I am liking the Bulls' ball movement. The passing is there. 29 assists tonight compared to the Raptors' 14. They crashed the boards as well. 52 rebounds in total. Again, something they really struggled with last season. And they shot 50% from the field, 40% from 3. Like, all great numbers across the board. But you got to limit those turnovers, though. My God, that first half was brutal with how much they were turning the ball over. They were practically handing the Raptors the game with their lack of taking care of the ball. But anyway, on to the next one. The Bulls play their next and final preseason game on Tuesday, back at home against the Bucks. Make sure you tune into that one. I'll have a live chat for that game. And as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.